Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eye on Port Live from the studios of Metro Television. And this week we've got quite a number of lineup regarding export. So if you are somebody who is interested in export, or you know somebody who is interested in export, today is the day. We have the lineup for you. You should be able to understand and get to know everything that you need to know around export in this country by the time we end the program. The program is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, also Ghana Community Network Services, that's GCNet, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Goil Company Limited, and media partners for this program, Business and Financial Times, the Graphic Business. Like I always say, if you get a Tuesday edition of the Graphic Business, you should be reading virtually most of the things that will transpire from this studio. The Business and Financial Times, if you get a Thursday edition, you will be reading a lot about everything that transpire from here. The Maritime and Transport Digest, the entire newspaper, if you get a copy, you should be reading almost everything about the happenings from this studio today and almost every week that we meet. Once again, the abridged version of this program will be aired on GH1 tomorrow. That's Monday at 8:30 p.m. Also, another abridged version will be aired on Ghana Television, that's GTV, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Like I said, we're going to talk export in extenso. In the meantime, quite a number of things are happening in the port, and you remember that this week hasn't been too good for a lot of us who are looking forward for a free trade area within this region. The happenings in South Africa, the happenings in Nigeria are not too pleasant. However, there's this young man who braved the odds. He attempted to stow away from Nigeria to Ghana in the same week, to South Africa I should say, in the same week that there's this chaos in these two countries regarding what we have come to accept as xenophobia. The young man was nabbed at the port of TEMA because the port security at TEMA and Takoradi here in Ghana, they have warned that if you intend to stow away, never attempt the port of Ghana because you'll definitely be arrested. Take a listen to this story.
The TEMA Port Security Manager, Colonel Joseph Malik Bunamani, has urged security agencies in other African countries to meet stowaways with more deterrent punishments in order to stop the menace on the continent.
Harsh sentence should be given to them so that it will be deterrent to them, because this thing is not deterrent at all.
He, however, stated that the TEMA Port security remains so robust, it cannot serve as a conduit for stowaways to use in illegal travel overseas.
To us here, nobody has been able to disembark from here to anywhere. We are on top.
The TEMA Port security manager encouraged security agencies working in other African ports to tighten up its measures to prevent stowaways from succeeding to sneak through their ports.
Now the problem we are having at hand is people embarking from other ports. So we hope our neighbors will cooperate with us, do thorough search on vessels before they depart their port, so that we stop receiving and disembarking stowaways.
This comes at the back of yet another stowaway, Joseph Obasi, who was recently disembarked in the TEMA port after he was found on the Panama-flagged vessel Leon M. Joseph Obasi, an 18-year-old Nigerian stowaway who revealed that this was his 7th failed attempt, said he stowed away into the vessel through the ship's propeller at Apapa Port, Lagos, Nigeria.
So when the pilot boat is about to come, that's when I use paddle boat to enter the ship.
How did you climb?
From the roller drum.
So you hid under the anchor box?
Not anchor box, the propeller side.
Propeller side? You see how dangerous it is?
The port security manager confirmed to Eye on Port that this same stowaway was intercepted on shore and disembarked in the TEMA port a few weeks ago, proving his resilience to be notorious in his illegal embarkation.
Barely a month ago, that's 3rd August, 2 of them were arrested here. We disembarked them from a ship and repatriated them back to Nigeria. He managed and came back
The 18-year-old Nigerian stowaway said he indulges in this act with the hope of reaching Europe or South Africa for greener pastures. Colonel Punamani reiterated that stowaways should cease in their illegal pursuit to travel overseas, as they would be caught and repatriated to their countries and subsequently punished.
It's not good for you to just try and go and be doing this dangerous journey and be jailed. So we should all be careful. If you want to travel, use appropriate means to travel.
So quite interesting. I noticed that my guests were surprised about the fact that the young man has tried it for 7 times. He's almost becoming expert in it, but of course he's hoping to succeed one day. So we will deal with that particular area later on, probably when we're talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area, talk about migration aspect of that particular subject. In the meantime, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority this week, they launched their non-traditional export report. There's quite extensive numbers that have come out that will be very interesting to interrogate, and I'm sure that it's going to play a very important aspect of tonight's discussion. Take a listen to the story before.
Ghana Export Promotion Authority GEPA has launched its report on 2018 non-traditional export statistics in Accra to evaluate the general performance of Ghana's non-traditional exports in 2018, as well as provide public insights into the top 10 leading non-traditional export products and a comparative analysis of the various subsectors of exports. Ghana Export Promotion Authority is the national export trade support institution mandated to develop and promote exports of Ghana. The organization's mandate focuses on the diversification of Ghana's export base from the traditional export products like unprocessed minerals, cocoa beans, timber logs and lumber to non-traditional exports such as agriculture, processed or semi-processed goods and handicrafts. According to Samuel Dentu, Deputy Chief Executive Operations and Finance at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, in addition to product development, disseminates essential business information to exporters to know the trends in the market and how they could respond to them. They also engage in building the capacity of exporters to understand how to deal with traders all over the world, and that is done through the Export School, which is the Ghana Export Promotion's flagship program.
We also raise awareness about exports and the need for all of us as Ghanaians to be interested in it. And I think that under the current CEO, a lot of that is being done.
He said GEPA, in collaboration with its stakeholders, saw 10.05% improvement in the general performance of non-traditional exports from $2.446 billion in 2017 to $2.813 billion in 2018. He said GEPA, in collaboration with its stakeholders, saw 10.05% improvement in the general performance of non-traditional exports from $2.444 billion in 2017 to $2.813 billion in 2018. And this, according to the Deputy CEO of GEPA, is good news for the Exports Promotion Agency, which has gained momentum from a slow growth in the non-traditional export sector over the past recent years.
We did $2.813 billion for the period that we are looking at, that is January to December 2018, as compared to $2.556 billion in 2017. I would wish to highlight that between the period 2014 to 2016, we saw very slow growth.
He indicated that growth in 2018 was primarily attributed to the growth in cashew production and exportation, which accounted for half of the absolute numbers recorded in 2018. And according to Samuel Dentu, this was as a result of the commitment GEPA gave to the production and exportation of cashew.
Total growth in 2018 in terms of absolute numbers was about $257 million. Half of that was from cashew. And I think that we are very happy because GEPA is doing a major work in the area of cashew.
The Deputy Chief Executive, Operations and Finance of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority reveals that although countries such as Netherlands, India and the United Kingdom are among its top 10 destinations, it is strategizing to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area and establish strongly within Africa.
We are concentrating on ECOWAS also a lot. Looking for a lot of markets within the ECOWAS sub-region, and even the African Continental Free Trade Area is giving us a lot more impetus to do more within the sub-region.
The Chief Executive Officer of GEPA, Ifwa Asabia Asari, said a national export development strategy, a comprehensive document developed by government, would be effective in helping the Export Promotion Authority and its stakeholders to achieve the objective of attaining significant national development at the back of exports, since the strategy would clearly have a blueprint for all players in the clearance chain to act upon.
With the National Export Development Strategy, everybody is going to find their path. It's like a roadmap to where we are all going to, which is over 5 billion by 2021. And it is spelled out what every organization should do.
She said the reduction seen in the exportation of some goods, such as pineapple, would soon see an increase due to measures undertaken by the authority to scale up production in pineapple.
We will be reaping the results very soon, and hopefully you would not see this in 2019, because we've given a lot of the pineapple suckers out. By the end of December, we would have given 13 million out and more. So this is another strategy that we have taken to shore this up.
Director of Exports at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Joshua Azuri, who launched the 2018 Non-Traditional Export Report, said the government of Ghana, as part of its Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, views exports as pivotal in achieving its objective. Thus, the Ministry of Trade has implemented sustainable initiatives to promote and diversify Ghana's exports for economic growth, and this is evident in Ghana's GDP growth.
Our vision is a nation beyond aid, and for a country to achieve a vibrant economy, our mindset will have to be consistently export-oriented. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with this vision, the government, through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, decided to implement sustainable initiatives to promote and diversify Ghana's exports for growth.
He said a national export development strategy by government will ensure GEPA and its key stakeholders achieve the set targets of $5.3 billion by 2021. Emmanuel Doni Kwame, Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce Ghana, said the ICC drafts rules and regulations for traders globally, and one of the international standard definitions is the Incoterm 2020. He said his outfit found the launch of the export statistics for 2018 as a good opportunity to update the Ghanaian export sector on the new rules and regulations of the ICC.
ICC, as well known, has a long history when it comes to drafting rules for business. And the very popular one is Incoterms, the international standard definitions that spells out the responsibilities of buyers and sellers. And as exporters, they might be sellers in this framework. And it's been updated, and we'll be launching Incoterms 2020 in September in Paris.
He encouraged exporters who are key in the trade chain to participate in initiatives the ICC Ghana is embarking on to promote trade facilitation.
We've made it clear that we'll be organizing a mission to Qatar, and we want most of the exporters to join us on that mission. And we'll also be having a Ghana Arbitration Day. As exporters involved in international trade, definitely you have to draft a contract between yourself and your buyer.
So tonight, the subject is export, and if you are interested in export, tonight is your night. You've got to call friends who are also interested in export, that we are about to digest this particular subject and find or almost every area that needs to be found in order to grow export in this country and also build our national economy. Fortunately, we have the men who are going to do justice to this. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is Mr. Albert Kasim Diwura. Mr. Diwura, pleasure to have you.
My pleasure too.
How is GEPA doing?
Very well.
Everybody at GEPA?
It's a team spirit.
Yeah.
The team spirit is very high, and so GEPA, we are doing very well.
I'm told that Madam is under the weather a little bit. Is she feeling better?
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mr. Anthony Sipa is the president of the Federation of Association of Ghanaian Exporters. Mr. Sipa, pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Your hijacker.
Yes, you hijacked me.
Mr. Emmanuel Doni Kwame is the Secretary General for the International Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Doni Kwame, also pleasure to have you here. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, we have a big-time conversation on export in this country because we need to find solution. And quite often we have raised the concerns and also that kind of notion that the pendulum of trade in this country is tilted a lot more towards the import side. So why are we there? And are we actually there? We'll find all of that after the break. Stay with us.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead. Expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Dear valued client, the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is now live to make it easy to track your consignment and know the estimated duty payable for both general goods and used vehicles. We are pleased to inform you that the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is available for download on Google Play Store for Android users and the App Store for Apple users. This is the best opportunity for all importers and exporters to know the duty payable on every good under transaction. You can reach the team for inquiries and support by calling +233 242 435 663. Send an email to support@ghanastradinghub.com. To remain updated, kindly follow progress on the following platforms: www.facebook.com/Ghana Trade Hub, www.twitter.com/Ghana Trade Hub, and ghlinkedin.com/in/Ghana Trade Hub. Importers and exporters can download the official Ghana Single Window mobile app, which allows you to track your consignment conveniently and also allows you to obtain your estimated duty for general goods and used vehicles. Please spread the message to everyone importing or exporting. The Ghana Trading Hub mobile app is now live. Download and never be cheated. This is powered by the Smart Ports project under the auspices of the Government of Ghana and the Ghana Revenue Authority. Smart Port, improving Ghana's ease of doing business.
Utiliser les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiable pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières. Les femmes, à vous les honneurs! Les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
Welcome back. So our discussion on export continues, and like I introduced earlier, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Mr. Albert Kasim Diwura, is a guest tonight. Also, Mr. Anthony Sipa is the President of FAGE, is a guest tonight. Mr. Emmanuel Doni Kwame, Secretary General, is also Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, is also a guest tonight. Probably start with GEPA and maybe Mr. Diwura. Yeah. If before we even talk about your non-traditional exports that you launched, the report that we launched, if you can give us a sense of the status of our export in general, both traditional and the non-traditional, where are we now? What are some of the numbers that you can share with us?
Thank you very much. I bring you greetings from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. The staff, the CEO, and the general management and staff. We bring you greetings from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. And also to our viewers out there, we also bring you greetings from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Total export, traditionally we have the traditional export and the non-traditional export. And so the traditional export, like we all know, we know our typical cocoa beans, the raw cocoa beans. We know of our timber. We know of our raw gold. Processed gold is not part of it. And so these are traditionally what we are known for as Ghanaians. But over the years, we try to diversify. And then we look at the non-traditional export. These are things we produce locally. And then we try to sell that in the outside world. And so this alone, if you look at the numbers in this country who are into this sector alone, it tells you the number of jobs that are being created. And so at Ghana Export Promotion Authority, basically in the non-traditional export, which includes services, we look at generally manufactured products. We look at the agri product, we look at the handicraft sector, and then the service sector. And so basically, these are the areas that we focus on as far as our diversification is concerned. And so we match it vis-a-vis the traditional export. And so if you look at what we launched just a couple of weeks, which we just played, the traditional export as at 2017 stood as 13.9 billion. And then in 2018, it stood at 14.9 billion. And so if you come to what we are known for, the non-traditional aspect, we've also appreciated by 10% in our gains. And that is how it stands for now. We did, like you rightly said, we did 2.55 billion in 2017, and in 2018 we did 2.81 billion, and that is a 10%, which we feel is very significant.
Okay, so 10% increase from 2017 into 2018. Yep. Now, this whole notion of the fact that we are sort of running a deficit when it comes to our balance of trade, is that what the picture is currently? Import against export, what are the numbers? What's the figure?
Yeah, that is very interesting because we all know that Ghana, if we want to do well, not only Ghana, every nation, if you want to do well in terms of in terms of growth, then you have to export more, because that is where you will earn the needed foreign exchange, and then you'll be able, that will strengthen your currency. But we know for sure that most African countries, and in Ghana in particular, we are poised, and that is why if you look at the figures, we are poised no matter the gap of imports. We are poised and we are much ready to be able to, in the near future, close the gap, if any. But to be honest with you, the imports, we don't have the ready figures. But we know the pace at which we are going. Very soon, the tables will turn. Because if you look at the industrializational agenda of this very government, that tells you that we are very poised in increasing our our exports, especially the non-traditional export. Because if you look at the flagship programs of this government, one district, one factory, that tells you that very soon we are going to have huge numbers when it comes to export. And thank God, the continental free trade is also an area that is going to give us advantage. And GEPA, we are very poised, and we are going to be the focal point because we deal in export. And so we know that very soon the tables will turn.
So does it mean that we are, as a country, we are making it a policy to grow a lot more of the the non-traditional export side, to sort of get this balance of trade? And by that, I also want to know, to what extent are we pushing the traditional export angle?
The traditional export, like I rightly mentioned earlier, let's take cocoa, for example. If we export the raw cocoa beans, how much are we talking about? But if we process it into chocolate, Ghana's chocolate is one of the best, in fact, it's the premium chocolate in the world. And so, why export the raw cocoa beans and call it traditional export? If you process it and you know you are going to make a lot of gains in the processing sector, we have cocoa paste, we have cocoa powder, we have chocolate. We can do a lot with cocoa alone. And so that is why we think that, we should rather focus in processing. If we process most of our tradition, then it becomes non-traditional. And that is where we think that the value addition, in fact, the whole value chain, that is where a lot is going to happen, like creation of jobs, enough foreign exchange earnings. I mean, a lot will happen if we go into processing. And that is why I say with the flagship program of industrialization, where we have a lot of factories, then we produce to feed into these factories, and then we are close to getting to where we dream Ghana to be. In fact, Ghana beyond aid. And that is where we believe that from Ghana Export Promotion Authority, we must take the lead to actually drive this nation to that destination.
And in taking the lead, what's been done on the ground to sort of grow this manufacturing area so that we convert a lot of the traditional export into non-traditional?
Yeah, we are doing a lot. For example, recently, if you look at the figures, what support we've given into the cashew industry, this 10% that we have made, honestly, is coming from the cashew sector. The cashew sector, we've been able to make over 43%. Now, the question is, just like we are talking about of lack of the processing, the cashew nuts a lot had been exported already. Assuming we had added the value, then you see the figures. And so your question about what we are doing to go into the processing sector, and that is why we are saying that we are augmenting the efforts of government to partner with the one district, one factory, to tell them that we can help the agri sector to be able to produce the necessary raw materials to feed into the factory. So there's pure collaboration between Ghana Export Promotion Authority and other sectors. And recently, we developed our National Export Development Strategy document. This we call, a lot of stakeholders, in fact, all the authorities or agencies and the Ministry of Trade, we all assembled as a stakeholder meeting to look at how best we can, develop this sector by processing and also developing the product. In the first place, if you don't develop the product, you won't even have the necessary raw material to even feed into the factory to begin with. And this is what we are collaborating with other authorities, other agencies, to be able to get the necessary synergy to push this agenda forward.
I would still want to know a lot more, and this time around probably get a lot more specific. Let's take a look at how you improve the quality of even products that are manufactured, for instance. You also mentioned the National Export Development Strategy. I thought we don't have one, do we?
We have one, but fortunately or unfortunately, it has a lifespan. And so the one that is in existence before we are looking at this new one, In fact, even though it was not fully implemented, or shall I say it wasn't even implemented at all, but it expired. Looking at the contemporary issues, then especially, for instance, government has a flagship program of PED, planting for export and rural development. These are 3 crops, and that will take a longer period. And so if you have a document that is a 5-year duration or 5-year lifespan, then that tells you that you may not be able to the strategic document in existence will no longer be relevant. And so we put stakeholders together to be able to come up with a document that will stand the test of time, so that by the time we fully implement it, we would have achieved all that we plan to achieve.
Has this document been produced?
Yes, it is in the draft state.
So it hasn't been produced?
It's almost done.
It hasn't been produced?
It's produced because as we speak, even though it is not launched yet, and we are looking at a very big launch. In fact, we are even expecting that the people who will expect to come and launch it, it will carry the necessary weight to be able to put everybody who has a part to play to focus on the way forward, so at the end of the day, we'll really achieve the benefits of the document.
Do we have the draft of this document we're talking about?
Completed. The draft is ready. It has been reviewed. I think at the moment it is with the Parliamentary Select Committee of Trade, and it's almost done. Very soon we are going to launch the document, and I'm sure you will appreciate it better.
The other thing is, to what extent is GEPA moving towards or closer to the exporters themselves to see exactly what their challenges are and how you can support?
Exporters, in fact, they are our stakeholders, like we always say. And as far as Ghana export promotion is concerned, basically, we have very good relationship with our exporters. Okay. And we support them a lot in trade shows, in trade missions. We actually give them capacity building. We do a lot of market research to tell them which market to go and which market is doing well. And so with our relationship, we are very cordial, and we know our very existence depends largely on them. So it's a win-win situation here. And for now, we think that we are doing very well with our exporters. We invite them to programs, and if you see the numbers, you'll be amazed. And even with this export strategy document, they were part of the discussion. Okay. We cannot do it without the exporters. And so their input is part of the very document that I'm talking about. Okay. And like I said, we build their capacity. We introduce new markets, and then we let them to try the markets. And most of the booths we pay for them, we do a lot to build their capacity.
I understand that you have a training school, an export training school?
Exactly. So we have this export training school is basically the fundamentals of export. And then as they grow, we are looking at a bigger picture. The good news is that the school for now is a virtual school.
Which is what?
And a virtual school means that it really doesn't exist. But then
it doesn't exist.
Not that it doesn't exist, but the structures, like a building, like you go.
So
and
how do they get educated then?
Wonderful. Now, periodically, we identify them. They are our stakeholders, so we advertise, and then those who are interested in export will apply over a period of time. And the good news is that under the leadership of the current CEO, my boss, Madam Efua Asabia Asare, she's turning the whole virtual school into a real export school. In fact, we are even looking at it to be one of the biggest in the ECOWAS sub-region, where people will enroll in and then complete and be given diploma and awarded certificates and diploma. And so the export school is actually building the capacities of these exporters.
Okay, because this program is quite interactive, and towards the end we're going to be hearing from some of these exporters. We need some few things clarified, because if you're not careful, somebody will say, I want to enroll, and you are telling us that the school is virtual. I just want to be sure and clear on this particular one. Now, you have a school that's existent that people can enroll. Yeah. And what's the form of tuition, for instance? How do you teach people so that if somebody is into export business and needs some guidance, they say that I'm going to export,
the Ghana Export Promotion Authority's Export Training School to get training on how to export better and grow the export sector. What is the state of this school? Where is it? How can people get assistance from it?
In the past, this school, like I said, is a virtual school. In the past, because we interact a lot with the exporter community, they know virtually all the things that we are doing. And so the new exporters, in fact, we have a desk that you can walk to our offices, and then you have a scheduled officer who can take you through at least the basic, what you need to know, the fundamental questions of export. You have an officer who can take you through. However, with the school, like I said before then, this year we've not organized the school because we are even looking at the very basic curriculum.
Okay,
does it even, the one that has been running over the years, is it fit for purpose?
Okay.
Is it solving our problems? And so very soon you realize that there will be a clear-cut calendar that the school will run throughout the year. And so you will know as when to roll in, when to finish, and then the duration.
But at the moment, none of that exists.
At the moment, it doesn't exist, and this is the innovation of the current
Okay,
CU.
so it's something in the pipeline that you intend to.
Yep,
okay, that helps. Yeah. But so now, how do you guide exporters through standards? What is required in the external market for them to take advantage of, what they are supposed to put together down here before they get a very good product that's marketable outside?
Very well. The exporters, they are people that we collaborate very well with. And so whatever information we have, we share. So we have WhatsApp platforms, we have our market hub. The market hub is an area that is our website that exporters can go online and see exactly what we market out there. Okay. And so exporters, they have idea of all that we do. Okay. And so the necessary education or the market research that we give them, they are privy to whatever is happening at our end. But that collaboration has been there, and then whatever information that also comes, we put it into our the exporters portal on our market hub, and we also share it on WhatsApp platforms, and so they are very much abreast with time. But like I said, this virtual school, we bring the facilitators from maybe if you know an expert in the packaging, maybe the standard authority, maybe even the universities. We identify the courses we want to do, then we pull out the resource person who have the knowledge, the expertise.
So it's on case-by-case basis, sort of.
Exactly. And so we have the courses that we teach them at the export school. Okay. And so they are very much aware that this is an annual thing. But very soon, like I said, by the time we develop this new curricula and try to, redesign the courses, then you realize that even those who are into export, they've been to the export school, they are doing so much well in the world, they will still find the need to come to this school because there are so many new things that we would have discovered to be teaching that they may not be aware of, even though they've been in the export community for, say, 10 to 15 years, but they will still find the need to still come to this export. This is what we are doing innovatively to let the school be very beneficial to exporters.
Okay, Mr. Sipa.
Yes.
You are from that end. You are supposed to be the beneficiary. From the Association of Exporters perspective, what's the status of our export at the moment?
It's plateaued.
Let's begin from there.
It's plateaued.
It's plateaued.
Yes, it's plateaued. I mean,
Sadura.
Mr. Dura is new. I've been here for a very long time.
You've been here means where?
I've been in export for a very long time. It's plateaued. So I like us to look at the reality, so that we can craft new programs that will make us achieve the ambitious goals that we have set for ourselves.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we're here.
Right, because the export sector is made of various type of institutions. We have big players, we have medium-sized players, and we have smallholders. Even the farmer in my village who is doing a quarter of a hectare, a quarter of an acre, will be exporter can contribute to export. So we need to be very specific in what we can do and what we cannot do. When I say export are plateaued, I mean, when we drew the first national export strategy, we said we're going to achieve $5 billion in 5 years. We have passed it long and gone, and we're doing 2.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have made some move because we're 2 point something. We're before 2,
yeah,
and now we moved 0.8. So that's beautiful. It's well done. But we need to do more.
It could have been better.
Yeah, much better. We should have been doing more than that. It is simply because we have not carefully looked at the sectors that were delivering before new ones are coming. If you read the GEPA report, you see that pineapple is having problems, mango is having problems, even cashew itself had problems, and there were certain interventions. So we need to look at each product case by case and then move on and see what is ailing them. How can the state support them? If you spoke to anybody in export, they will tell you finance is the #1 problem. Why? Because an export, you are not competing with players in your country. You are competing with other players in the marketplace who are enjoying all kinds of support from their countries. You know, there are countries that are borrowing at 2%. So even if you gave me Exim Bank 18%, it makes me uncompetitive.
Yeah.
You see, so we need to look at some of these things. 2, we are in different times now. Okay, we talk of climate change. Climate change is having serious impact on most smallholders. Those are the areas that we need support. If you talk to mango producers, they will tell you we are suffering from diseases and pests and diseases. How do they address them? What support do they have? Those are the little areas that if we looked at, would have achieved more than we have achieved. Like, nonetheless, I mean, it's either you look at it, the cup is half full or the cup is half empty. I prefer to get half full so that they can ginger me on, you see. But we need, I would suggest to GEPA that, look, despite all the nice things, the linkages that they are forming with all the government programs, they need to sit down with the individual value chains and see where we can make impact. Because GEPA does not do. The individuals have to raise their own money and go into investment so that the result will be captured in records like we have done.
Yeah.
So we need to sit down with us and we'll tell you what must be done. You know, farmers need to be trained as to how to do climate smart agriculture. You know, because climate smart agriculture. Climate smart agriculture means that you are taking care of what is happening around us by way of climate and incorporating that one into your production. So, in brief, this is what I would say, that it is not very rosy in the export sector. It's a difficult terrain. One, you have to produce according to what the market wants, not what you want.
I was going to ask you about standards.
Our standard is key, and we need to work more on standards. I'm sure you are aware that some green vegetables are banned.
Yeah.
It's simply because we were not able to comply with the standard required. And it's not that the farmers do not want to do it. Sometimes they don't know how to do it. I'll tell you a story. We were in certain part of this country trying to help a few farmers there. And in those areas, labor is expensive. It's hard to come by. So if you want to expand your production, the only way is to use weedicides.
I see.
Yes. And their production is dependent on rainfall. So you prepare your field, it doesn't rain, so it becomes weedy again. Then you prepare your field, it doesn't rain, you apply weedicide again. Meanwhile, the weedicide keeps staying in the soil. So when you plant, eventually, the crops absorb the soil. And if you don't test it and you take it out and they test, then you have problems with it. So how do we help these farmers to crop in such a way that they can to manage the weed because of what is happening. These are the basic,
the fundamental
issues that most people who want to go into export are dealing with.
Yeah, so you've mentioned finance, you've mentioned climate change, you've mentioned standards for us.
Standard is key, because today you can produce, it looks very nice, but if it gets to the market, they'll say, no, we
don't need this.
We don't need this, because they'll ask you, what standard are you operating at? Do you have global gap, for example? Do you have fair trade? Do you have UTS? These are voluntary standards that producers have to comply with. Yeah. Without those, you won't get a buyer.
Yeah.
You see, yeah. So we need to do more. GEPA has a lot more to do than currently they are here. I hear them talking about.
Okay, we'll get to push a lot more. But Mr. Donukwame, your preliminary on this one, and from the international perspective as well. Out there in the market, Mr. Sipa, for instance, talks about climate change affecting, and it's about time that we need to be smart with our farming, and we need to be smart with our production as well in that line. Financing, for instance, I was going to deal with it as a whole subject, but if you want to tap on all of that bit.
Yeah, I think both parties did touched on very important issues. For the past 2-3 weeks, I've been campaigning, trying to draw people's attention to the impact of climate change. The International Chamber of Commerce is the focal organization representing business as far as the COP25 that will be held in Chile is concerned.
I see.
We will be seeking views from the private sector to make our voices heard. And from what he just said, in Ghana, we really feeling it. I'm just coming from my own farm. We planted a lot of seeds in June, expected a lot of rain. It didn't rain. Then all of
it didn't rain in June to your standard?
Yeah, our area.
I see.
It really didn't rain.
Which area is this?
Towards Somanado area, where they grow a lot of mangoes. And all of a sudden in September, it's been raining for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So what you need is the support, not only of GEPA, but from agri extension officers. Those are blessed.
So we'll be back shortly.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead. Expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Dear valued client, the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is now live to make it easy to track your consignment and know the estimated duty payable for both general goods and used vehicles. We are pleased to inform you that the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is available for download on Google Play Store for Android users and the App Store for Apple users. This is the best opportunity for all importers and exporters to know the duty payable on every good under transaction. You can reach the team for inquiries and support by calling +233 242 435 663. Send an email to support@ghanastradinghub.com. To remain updated, kindly follow progress on the following platforms: www.facebook.com/Ghana Trade Hub, www.twitter.com/Ghana Trade Hub, and ghlinkedin.com/in/Ghana Trade Hub. Importers and exporters can download the official Ghana Single Window mobile app, which allows you to track your consignment conveniently and also allows you to obtain your estimated duty for general goods and used vehicles. Please spread the message to everyone importing or exporting. The Ghana Trading Hub mobile app is now live. Download and never be cheated. This is powered by the Smart Ports project under the auspices of the Government of Ghana and the Ghana Revenue Authority. Smart Port, improving Ghana's ease of doing business.
Utiliser les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux, ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiable pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières.
Les femmes, à vous les honneurs.
Les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
Okay, welcome back to Iron Port. And before we went on break, we were talking about the international perspective of what we are seeing around as far as our export is concerned, whether we are as good as we probably are hoping to be, and whether the fact that we've been able to grow the NTE, that's a non-traditional export, from 2, they're about 2% or so to 2.8, right? If it's good enough. And we heard from Mr. Sipa, for instance, with FAGE, that no, we should be able to do a lot more because we can push further. And so if there is more room for improvement, we shouldn't be satisfied with just the 2.8%. But the international angle, he also raised a very important perspective that climate change is also affecting export. It is affecting farming and production and manufacturing and all of that. So, Mr. Donikwame, you were on the floor talking to us about the extent to which we should take this seriously.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just the job of Ghana Export Promotion Authority, but there's the need for the use of agri-extension officers who should also be on the ground to advise those in the agri sector. And then our Meteo in the regions should be able to provide the necessary information for those involved in most of the agri produce, because the figures we got from the launch of the stats from GEPA, we realized that some of our key exports, as Mr. Sepa mentioned, pineapple, for example, the figures have not improved that much.
Yeah.
So there's the need for more research to be done.
Yeah.
The bottom line is it's as a result of the impact of climate change.
Yeah.
We're seeing something very different now. And we need to take it serious. We need to cut down on carbon emissions. Whatever strategies the Ministry for Science and Technology have put together a policy, a national policy on climate change. And we believe these are cross-cutting issues which other ministries, departments and agencies should take it serious. On the issue of trade education, as he mentioned, ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, have developed a lot of voluntary rules. Incoterms is one of them. We also have rules on international trade finance, and then on the issues of dispute resolution. But we all know the bigger case in Ghana. Access to credit is not just the assets itself, but the cost of credit, which is one big issue, and the lack of the necessary infrastructure to transport goods from the farm gates to the ports. So these need to be addressed, and even the cost of energy itself for those involved in manufacturing or semi and then processed goods.
Let me ask Mr. Sipa on the agri-extension officer's role and then the meteorological services role, particularly when it comes to this climate change business. Because to be honest with you, so many people don't appreciate the impact of the climate change. People see it as quite abstract. Oh, we hear climate change. What really is it? If he had not given an example of the rains in May as against in June as against that in September, a farmer somewhere may not even be aware of this.
See, it is serious, and it's been with us for quite a while now, and it's having serious impact on them. I tell you, for example, citrus farmers at this time of the year, it's difficult to get, it's difficult for them to sell their fruits because the BRICS level, that the sweetness, is below what the processors want. So, because the sun is not shining, normally the sun will be quite shiny even at this time of the year, so that will help the fruits to ripen and ripen too, so that they get the sweeter level, what we call the BRICS level. Okay, so that's one area. Two, because it is hotter, we have more incidents of pests and diseases. In the past, we didn't know of BBS. Now we have BBS, so which is bacteria black spots on mangoes. So as soon as your fruits are about ready, you see some black spots that breaks out, and you see the juices oozing out of the fruit. It's unsightly. The fly is inside there, so you will not be able to sell it. Nobody will buy it. And if you don't, you will see your fruits dropping. Okay, so it makes it more expensive to manage your farm. You need to apply a lot of copper-based fungicide on the field, which makes your production costs higher. So your competitiveness is reduced. Again, it means that you have to take serious, you have to take more, do more work on your farm, which we don't know. You see, many people who are in production of these crops, mangoes, cashew, whatnot, just planted them because it was like, oh, plant it and I can, comes to harvest time, you harvest. No, they need to be treated like babies. Yeah. And we are not doing that. And it's expensive to do that. So we need to bring a lot more training. Fortunately, this government has increased the number of extension agents. What we need to do is draw a stronger link between the research institutions and extension agents so that they are trained in what to do. If you train the farmers in what to do, they will not be desperate, they will not be hopeless. Applying just anything, they will do the right thing. You know, another area that we need to do, we are cutting too many trees down, right? I mean, the way we grow, if you go to some of the pineapple areas, growing areas in this country, they are almost becoming savanna.
I see.
Yes. We need to change the production agronomic systems to suit the climate that we have now. So we need to incorporate some trees and some biomass trees to improve the soil fertility and also to attract some rain. So these are the, so climate change is real.
I see.
It's very, very real. You know, and unless we do something, we'll be paying dearly for it.
And what can we do as Export Promotion Authority? Is there a way you are also helping to put the agencies and the research institutions together?
Thank you very much. And I am actually pretty happy when my Mr. Sefab said the situation is plateaued and
you agree?
And we are very new.
But you agree that it's plateaued?
Of course, I agree. I agree to some extent, because I felt at least he should have maybe appreciated a little.
Be charitable.
Because yes, we are new.
The man is being blunt.
But we hit the ground running. If not for anything at all, at least there is now a roadmap that we have all players on board. And so this, Madam Efwa Asabia Asare looked at the figures. You know, a 5-year document was almost at the point of expiring. And the question is, what gains did we derive from the document that we made that was almost expired? What gains? And so implementation is an issue. So for me, yes, we are new. So what are we going to do differently? First, to hit the ground running, we look at a roadmap where we have all the players on board. How do we double our export, you know, in the near future? Yeah. In fact, initially, even the debate as to the duration of the document, others say, oh, let's peg it at 5 years. Others say, no, let's look at it at 10 years. You know, we went back and forth, and we know as part of this document, in fact, he knows, his team were there when we're developing this document. And it took quite some time to come up with this document. In fact, the document is quite comprehensive, where it has this finance bit. Of course, we all know there used to be EDIF. That was purely supporting exports. And then
EXIM's office.
And then EXIM's office. And you can agree with me that EXIM is much bigger. But you cannot be supporting exporters probably on ad hoc basis. First of all, you need to re-identify the problems. Now you know the problem. Finance is one. How do we bring all the financial institutions? Let me tell you a story.
Okay, please go ahead.
Let me tell you a story. Not quite long ago, this current leadership of GEPA, we brought all exporters together, in fact most exporters, and then we brought the financial institutions so that they come close and have one-on-one interaction with the exporters. And we expect that at least they should be able to build relationship with the financial institutions as far as their financing is concerned. We also know what EXIM is doing. And it will interest you to know that we don't just develop the product, we also even support them financially. And so the issue he mentioned, the pineapple sector that has actually reduced, we agree. And the interesting thing is that we are rather looking at the fourth shoal in the pineapple sector as an opportunity. What do we do? And if you look at the suckers that we have supplied to the pineapple industry, it will amaze you. Over 10, I don't have the figures offhand, but I tell you it's amazing. And this, you will see this through intervention, you will see the reflection in the coming years. So this 10% that you have seen, even without the implementation of the export development strategy document, the little intervention that we have done, you will see the results come next year. And so I don't want to, guess the figures.
So next year you're hoping to get a double of 2.8.
If not tripled.
5%.
Yes, more. Because of the current interventions that we are doing, we expect to see more.
Okay, I think I would love for you to elaborate a lot more on the intervention. I might quite often, more often than not, I like for us to not be too excited about documents, because the problem had always been that once you have documents, the implementation now becomes a different ballgame. So on the field, for instance, is where we are hoping to see some level of change. If you take the issue of extension officers and research institutions collaborating to sort of educating and alerting our farmers on the impact of climate change.
Here, GEPA is the trade promotion agency, like we all know, but of course we don't operate in isolation. Recently, the vegetable that was faced with the little problem that we have in the vegetable industry, quickly pegged, and then GEPA together with the Ministry of Agri, we met and we look at quickly what we can do as individual agencies to actually solve the problem, and then we continue to export our veggies. The interventions that we are looking at, purely like I said, yes, the document is one thing, implementing it is another thing. But it is this document, I don't want to call it a document, I want to call it a roadmap. Okay. Because that is where all the players will find their footings. That is where they will see clearly their roles. And then you'll be held responsible. Okay. Like he said, the extension officer, the numbers we are told have been increased. And so purely the facilitating role that we are supposed to play is for the advocacy, to ensure that all the players will have their eyes on the ball, and then to ensure that we get the necessary results from the document. And so these are the real picture that we envisage. And so nobody will be left out in the equation. Everybody will have a specific role to play. And so if you are in charge of pest and disease, like he rightly said, then we know who is responsible. And GEPA will actually play the facilitating role to ensure that we are all on track, and then the results will be realized as we go on.
At the moment, what immediate institutions do you work very closely with in achieving some of these goals that you have?
I just mentioned PED.
The PED.
We also have the Standard Authority. And like you rightly asked, the interventions are, some of them are even documented. For instance, sanitary and phytosanitary documents, they are agencies that if you don't even have that certification, you can't even export in the first place. And so our duty is to ensure that they comply. And as facilitators, we are now going to know which institutions to actually prick or to draw their attention that we are not getting the needed results that we want. Yeah. And so you need to up your game. Yeah. This sector needs your intervention. This sector needs your intervention. And that is the roadmap that I'm talking about. And so not until we have a real structure and roadmap to follow, these are the problems that we'll be facing. And that is why I said we are new, yes, but we hit the ground running such that at any point in time, we know which institution, as far as our collaboration is concerned. In fact, we'll even be proactive. Before the issue even comes up, we should be able to even envisage, and then we know who is. And then research is key. Yeah. Research is going to be very key. Primary and secondary research is going to be very key. And like I said, maybe the problems will not even come in the first place, because if you know what you are doing, what other countries are doing, like the mango he recently mentioned, I didn't want to say it because probably it's too premature, but I have to mention it because currently we've engaged some Israelis who we know, even in terms of rainfall, they don't even have much. But then water is very expensive over there. But yes, climate change, yes, but they saw the potentials in Ghana, and they are prepared to partner with GEPA and, for that matter, the other sectors to see how best we can, boost this mango industry. In fact, they call it the green gold, that if we invest a lot in mango, we are going to see the results. And so these are some of the things that are happening behind the scene that is too early for us to come out to say. And that is why we believe that by the time this document is fully operational, that everybody find their footings and we are all having our eyes on the ball, the results will be clear for everybody to see.
So it means that with this Israeli example you gave, they are supposed to assist with mangoes that would not, this breed of mangoes that would not require so much water to sort of grow. Is that what it is?
Not necessarily.
Are they helping us?
They will bring the technology. Okay. How are they doing it over there? Is it drip irrigation? What is the technology? And are they coming to just, as it were, come and produce here and take it, to sell out there? Or they are coming to teach our mango farmers? Okay. Are they coming? And that is exactly what is going to happen. And so we determine how we want it. If it is done over there, climate change, yes, in Ghana. But I think that in terms of rains, probably we are still doing better. And so if they can do it over there, then we can do it better here with their technology. And then probably the hybrid of the seeds. So we once export, like Uncle rightly said, one export, it is not about your own country and it is about the international community. Then you should also look at the way systems are going out there. Yeah. What are they doing right that you are not doing? And so you need to be able to tap in, and that will be somebody's job. Yeah. Like export cannot do it all. Yeah. And that is why we collaborate with other agencies and other institutions so that at the end of the day, together we can make it happen.
Another institution, and maybe I'm dwelling a lot on you because it looks like a lot is on your desk. Yeah. Another reason why I asked you how you partnering with other institutions, you're talking about bringing in the Israelis who have some expertise. We've got quite a number of research institutions in the country. This Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is one of them. He mentioned the Meteorological Service. How do you collaborate with these institutions to help you come up with innovations, how to handle these things? Because the Israelis may bring some of these innovations and they will step out, or are we going to forever rely on them? How do we transfer some of these knowledge around and spread them around so that it will be something that will be sustainable? Then if we grow exports, say next year by 3-fold, we know that it's sustainable. The following year we're probably going to do a lot more and double it and double it.
They collaborated with the other institutions has been perfect over the years.
The CSIR, do you engage them?
A lot. A lot. You can bring your proposal, like I said, export promotion. We actually give finance to exporters. We actually finance their, I don't want to mention names, but even before that, we will ask of other compliances. CSIR, have you engaged them? We'll look at your report, we'll read it, your proposal, so that at the end of the day, we will be very much convinced that you have actually followed. If not, we will direct you. We can only support you if you get your documentation even right in the first place. And so, the Israeli I just mentioned, it's not that, it's just a case study. Yeah. And in fact, I shouldn't have even mentioned it in the first place. But because it is the mango example specifically, that is why I zoom in there to let him know that something is being done along that line. We should be able to get expertise. In fact, even cashew, we know India is doing a lot. So there is nothing wrong with getting their expertise to be able to do better even in the cashew industry. And so once there is a roadmap, and you then be able to go think outside the box and know what you can do differently to up your game. And that is exactly what this the current administration of GEPA is looking at. And that is why, due to the way we are looking at things, that is why we can confidently say in no time we should be able to double our exports. Because it is not business as usual. It's not business as usual. This time round, those institutions that we think we are not partnering enough, the collaboration is not tighter enough, because we have results to show, we will strengthen the partnership and the collaboration, so that at the end of the day, the story will be different. Okay. Mr. Asipa?
Yes, sir.
It's not business as usual.
Not at all, not at all. I'm not giving some suggestions as to what he can even do before.
That's what I was coming to.
Before that. You see, for example, one of the first places we need to do if we really want to do export and do export seriously is to know where the seed is coming from. Yeah. We need to bring seed that are drought resistant. Yeah. That's one. Two, we need to use planting material that are certified. So we need a stronger collaboration between GEPA and PPRSD, so that we will only buy, whether it is plantain suckers, whether it is mango seedlings, whether it is cashew seedlings, from certified fields, certified producers. And we must also know what variety that they are producing. Because on the export market, you need to trace, if there's a problem, you need to be able to trace it to the source. So we need all this. And especially with the planting for export and rural development, it is key. Because the tree crops, you go and plant them 3 years before you start seeing results. So if you have planted the wrong seed, it has happened before. People got cashew seedlings, they planted, and it was vegetative. It didn't bear any fruits. And so a lot of money would have gone down the drain. So that's one. We need to come up with a rule that if you are producing for export, then every planting material and input has to be from a certified source. Okay. Two, it's not just anybody who can produce for export. You must have been trained in ways of keeping records, conforming to the protocols of the standard that you want to select, depending on which market you want to go to.
And who should train?
Well, this is what we, the associations, do.
Okay.
We don't have, yes, FAGE facilitates training of people in Global Gap for Global Gap certification.
And have you been doing this?
Yes. I see. We do it. We do it. I mean, you see smallholder pineapple producers, we go through GIZ and get somebody to train them so that they are certified as Global Gap certified farmers, producers. That's how they are able to export. Otherwise, nobody will take your fruits. The same with mango production. So, but it's expensive. Training them. Yeah, training, because it is a hands-on training. Yeah. Right? How to peg the distances between your trees and whatnot, what chemicals to apply if you want to go that way. If you want to be organic, then what inorganic fertilizers or pesticide that you can use. So all these are training and how you document it. For example, if you apply chemicals on your fruits, you need to allow a period before you harvest it. All these, you have to go through training for it so that when you harvest, the thing is right. Again, for now, for example, fruits are setting, mango fruits are setting, and they need water. So if you don't have water, you need to look for water to irrigate your field. Not many people know. The mangoes we know just stand on the field when it comes by itself. It comes by itself. You see, so that's the difference. Yeah. You see, pruning. You need to prune your field every year. Somebody must teach you how to prune. Okay? So these are the kind of training. So we will recommend.
Mandatory. Are these mandatory? Can we make them mandatory to get the results?
This is what we need to. Because one, the problem facing Ghanaian, especially agricultural export, is volumes and quality. The quality is not the same. If the quality is not the same, you can't aggregate. And if you don't have the volumes, you cannot go, for example, to the supermarket. The supermarket is all looking for a one-time business. Yeah. They want a continuous business, so you must guarantee them that. You know. The same even with the processors here. The processors here in this country have positioned themselves. Their business case is that they are supplying you with fresh produce every day, so they need the raw materials. Yeah. So you must put in that production system that will feed into this. So yes, they need to do a lot of collaboration, bring people together, build clusters, so that the clusters will feed into the processing. Yeah. So this whole idea of we're going to set up factories and what, the factories must be linked to agricultural production so that the producers will produce to feed those factories. And again, it also depends on what your final product is going to be. If, for example, you are producing fresh cuts, you need a certain type of mango. You can't use the stringy type because that one will give you more juice. It won't give you the solid that you want for fresh cut. So again, that end use must be factored in the selection of planting material. So it is important that we work with those who are on the field now so that we would not make them any mistake. It reduces our learning curve and we're able to get it. I mean, he is doing coconut. I'm going to ask him what variety of coconut he's producing.
I just bought a farm. But the biggest threat is the rising sea levels. Yeah. You know, it's right by the coast. And, the trees, the sea is just consuming the sea. The trees, the coconut trees. Yeah. And this as a result of climate change, as we all may see. Right. And now we need to talk about solutions. Yeah. And as he just said, we are 25 million in Ghana. Yeah. If we should all plant a tree a year, let's all make it a duty that every single Ghanaian will nurse one tree from September. Now that it's raining, we have the Harmattan rain now. Let's all plant one tree and we'll take care of the carbon emissions, and maybe we may reduce the temperature levels to the globally accepted target of 1.5 degrees. Yeah.
Mr. Adonikwame, these are some of the things that if you leave it to the ordinary to just say, you are hoping that the ordinary people would take this initiative, they may not do it. Isn't this a kind of suggestion that can be in the blueprint, for instance, that he talked about, that it's being put across, so that people are forced actually to take some of these measures?
There is a national climate change policy, and it's in there, and that we need to reduce our vulnerability and then rather increase our resilience. Yeah. And there are petty things we can all do. Planting a tree is the easiest thing that any of us can do. And as he just mentioned,
not only planting it, but growing.
That's another matter. No, that's what I'm saying. That you nurse from the beginning, you make sure it grows into a tree. Yeah. You don't plant a tree during the dry season, and then they all die. 25 million if each person nurses a tree starting from this September and makes sure in 4 or 5 years he has a tree, then we know we're going somewhere.
Let me stick with you on standards, because that's also another area that is really hampering opportunities out there in the market. We don't even have barcodes, for instance, for basic products. There are products that we even want to sell in the supermarkets, and there are no barcodes. Now, if you want to sell outside, almost every item you click and then they get a price for you. You click the barcode, you get a price. You click a bar, and none of that is being, you know, we're not implementing all of that here. So how do we make some of these products very attractive out there? And how do we deal with things like this as well?
As my colleague did mention, the biggest challenge has to do with sanitary and phytosanitary issues, you know, as far as exports are concerned. And I realized in the early days, most of the bans of our vegetables and our agri produce was as a result of individuals trying to export a few agricultural produce, maybe palm oil or some fruit, to the European Union. And once it gets into any of the countries within the EU and is picked at their border post and they raise a red flag, all exports, including those who've gone through the right channel, are banned.
I see.
You know, we had a case of Sudan 3 in our palm oil.
Yeah.
You may have a family relation going, operating a shop in London, and may take a few palm oil to sell in his shop. And once it's picked at the border and it's tested in their lab, and it has Sudan 3 levels that are not accepted in their country, and they raise the red flag, definitely every palm oil, those that are being shipped, will be banned. So you need to make sure, as GEPA, whoever is involved in export goes through the right channel. As FAGE will take you to the right training. If you want to do pineapple export, you go through the right training, make sure you've met all the standards of whatever market you've targeted.
See, just to add a little bit to what Tony is saying, what we need to do is that we need to introduce the use of standards in both our production and processes in Ghana. Because usually when you are taking things outside for export, you go through all the requirements. You test for maximum residue levels. You check all those things, microbial, all those you check. But when you are selling on our own market here, you don't do it. So it is difficult. There's no incentive in it for even the person who wants to export to do it. Because it's not everything that you produce that will go to the export market. Some will be sold here. And when you are selling, we don't value the trouble that person has gone through to give you a right product.
You sure we don't value it? It's because people don't have access.
Because in the market, if you go to the market, you don't differentiate between what is certified and what is not certified in our local market here. Right?
Which is supposed to be.
Which is supposed to be. That is why, for example, it is not attractive, for example, for people to grow organic. Because it's a lot of hard work. But that is the safest food to eat for healthy reasons. You know, but if they produce to go through all that trouble, there's no way to differentiate that on the market, and they will not be rewarded. So they lose money, so they don't do it. There's only a few people who know where to go and get organic products, and they go and get it. So we need to introduce certification in our production system, and that is why we at FAGE, we support Ministry of Agri bringing the green label. Let's enforce the green label that anybody who wants to produce and sell commercially, you must get some certification from either Standard Authority, GSA, or Food and Drug Authority. If it is processed, it's Food and Drug. If it is so that the palm oil things, Sudan 3 and what will not happen because it have been tested. Okay. You know, it's like when you are traveling on the roadside and you buy fruits or vegetables by the roadside.
Everything is just like that.
And when you come home, you try to separate and you lose about 50%. When we start enforcing these regulations, it will not happen. Gradually, we'll be building our act, our game, so that when we move on to trade regionally and whatnot, will be better. Number 2, we need to start using weighing scales. Gone are the days when they count 1, 2, 3, 5 things for you and say this is 10 cities.
Put in a basket.
Put in a basket.
And then just pack it for you.
Let's use weight. Even if it is one mango that you are buying, they should weigh it for you and say it is maybe 1 cedi per kilo or something. You know, we will be getting it because when we want to trade with other countries, we're going to use that measurement in determining what we are selling, right? We need to start now. It's by rules. The rules are there. The metrology rules are there. We are not just using it, you know. So this is how we will start. And GEPA should work with all of us to enforce it. That, look, these are the things that you have to do. Again, storage and how we transport those products. Yeah. Right? When you see some of these things being transported, you don't feel like even buying them. Yeah. You know, so we need to look at that. And the best place we sell fruits, especially in Accra, is the Wuroji market. And it's the environment. It's the environment. I don't know. It's a no-no. On it. It's a no-no.
That's our problem.
It's a no-no.
That environment on it.
So these are the things that we need to address seriously if we want to be taken seriously as an exporting country.
Yeah. Somebody said that we are too comfortable in consuming debt. So we end up exporting that debt, and those who are not ready to accept it, they just reject them.
Exactly.
But we are down here and we are okay to just eat some of the plantain chips. Now there are varieties. You go to some marts and you get a plantain chips and you realize this is solid. But there are some that, you know, you see them falling off on the street and they pick them and they come drop them, no labels on them. All these things are happening, but we are okay consuming them back home. So we assume that we can take the same things outside. And when we get across borders, we are brought back. Yeah. How are we ensuring that even what we are taking down here is of standard enough so that it can also meet the external market?
It is commonly known that if you sell the best product, then you get the needed cash that you want. And if it is out there, then of course you get the needed foreign exchange that you really want. But like you rightly said, I think the issue is attitudinal. I mean, do you value money more than your own life? And even if we are producing locally for our local consumption, what standards are we going to follow? And so I agree totally that our attitudes, I mean, there should be a paradigm shift in this country, especially because we can no longer live in isolation. Africa is becoming one market. Yeah. And so if Africa is becoming one market, that means that we need to, you know, we need to recycle.
Who should drive it?
Exactly. All the players involved. It shouldn't be, I don't think it should be one particular, because already we have the authorities, I mean,
all the institutions are available.
But so the question is about the enforcement. And so that is where I think that it's purely...
It needs to be spearheaded.
Exactly. And so GEPA, what we intend doing is that you must actually follow the laid down documentation before you can export, like he rightly said. And what makes it more interesting is that there are some of the producers who have even the farms. They are producing. However, they don't have the necessary quantities that they want. And so, to export, they simply go to the roadside. They go to Agubulashi and then they buy.
I see.
And then they mix it up with what they have generally follow compliance to produce.
And that shouldn't be.
That shouldn't be.
So who inspects the end one after, you know, you have inspected and complied and all of that? And then later on is added before export. Who inspects that?
That is where I say, if we look at it purely as attitudinal as a nation, must we sell the best product and consume the worst one? If this cycle is changed, let everybody knows even the effect. I mean, you can sell the best out there and make the dollars. You use it to treat yourself in the hospital. So why will you sell the best and consume the worst? So it's attitudinal that we bring everybody on board. And at the end of the day, I am sure that if we are exporting what we consume, then we will not have this problem.
So I still come back to it, because quite often if I hear the issue of attitude now, in as much as I agree, I also feel that human beings, and particularly us, we've been used to a certain culture and certain standards of living for a long time. You require somebody to say, look, we're all moving towards a certain direction now. Like you said earlier, we are drifting the paradigm. And and for that matter, this is the line we're going to go. And you are going to use certain measures to enforce that, to let it happen. Because if you don't stop people, they will still go and buy the Sudan 3 from somewhere and come and mix it. If you don't find a way to check it, people will still do it no matter what. They find the onion around the agglomeration cheaper, and so they will come and mix it with whatever they've cut here as part of the vegetables and send outside. You know. So what can we do at this point in time to drift this paradigm and let everybody focus on the fact that whatever we are consuming ought to be healthy, good enough to export?
That is where the issue of our pack houses comes in.
Which one is that?
That where we actually package the in pallets, how we get it out there before it even gets to the port or to the, if it is by air, before it even gets to the airport. These veggies, I think the issue happened, at the airport. And so right from the farm, you know, people have backyard gardens, but these exporters, most of them, they have farms that they buy from, or they produce it from their farms and they export it themselves. Now, at the end of the day, the packers are, how is it being packaged out there? I agree, to change lifestyle, it takes a longer time. And so what we intend doing is to enforce that at least what goes outside this country, first of all, must, because you are not only exporting your product outside this country, you are also marketing Ghana.
Yeah, yeah.
And as Ghana export, we said export Ghana, export more.
Yeah.
And so if you take the products out there and they are being rejected, then that is on the country.
Yeah, it's a disgrace to us.
It's a disgrace to us. So we are saying that what goes out there, first of all, must meet the standard. Now, where are we getting it from? Yes, the farms are being taken care of. We follow all this at the farm, we package it well, and we take it out there. Then if we get that one right, then we then come back to tell Ghanaians that, look, what we consume is different from what we are taking out there to go and sell. And so now let's produce, you know, what we sell outside, let's also consume it locally. So that if we check the export first to protect the image of our country and to make the necessary foreign exchange, then gradually, like you said, attitudinal is difficult to change, then gradually we can work on the downtrodden. Okay. And thank God we have free education. Maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, where we have a larger population of educated Ghanaians as a result of the free education, then it will be very easy to communicate this. You know.
Yeah, Mr. Donikwame, quite recently you visited the port. I noticed that you visited the port, inspecting some facilities and all of that. The Port Authority, for instance, has been doing a lot in terms of helping with the incentives for export. I know that when they even increased tariffs, they didn't do that for export. As much as possible, trying to make it easier for people to export. Aside that, facilities are being expanded, the dredging is going on and all of that. But none of these will be very, very useful if we don't export a lot more. Do you think from the port side, what do you see is being done, and upon your visit and all of that, what's the level of satisfaction and what can be done going forward again?
I will first of all want to touch on a few of the things he did talk about. The first being the issue of we producing for our local market first. In export, we have the stages model. Yeah. That you build your capacity gradually before you go international. Yeah. And I believe the ICC, together with Standards Authority, are working on a project of that nature. I see. And our slogan is I buy real, fake cost more. Okay. Just to reward those who comply with sanitary and sanitary issues. Phytosanitary issues, such that you'll be given a certified mark. And you know, Ghanaians like quality stuff. Yeah. So once they know produce from this shop or from this farm is organic, or produce from this farm is of the highest quality, and the price is good, definitely. They'll go for it. And it will encourage more people, because we need to get the supply side right. And you'll be surprised to know that countries like Burkina produce very good vegetables, and they export to Europe, and they hardly have any problems. You have most of our traders going in there to bring in vegetables, onions from Niger and others. So we need to get it right to get the Standards Authority, the Ministry of Agric, plant quarantine?
Plant protection.
Plant protection, to reward those who comply, and you'll be surprised, people will be buying from them. And also to get the infrastructure right, you know. I've always been keen on rail transport. It's also related to climate change. You know, we need mass transportation to move our goods. Because in the olden days, when Ghana actually got industrialized in the 50s and 60s, it was rail that was driving driving the whole industrialization process. Now, we've done well by expanding our port. Now we can take in very bigger vessels. And to surprise you, that what we have in there now can also encourage a lot of transshipment. And with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the whole entire continent is our market. And with bigger vessels berthing at our port, smaller vessels can even take produce to the other smaller countries without such big facilities. I remember at the launch, there was some complaint about exports to the Middle East. And I asked why, and the issue had to do with transportation. That the cost of transportation for perishable goods was quite expensive because they have to go by air, and sea transport was difficult. But the good news from my tour at the port is that there are a lot of bigger vessels that are keen on using the TEMA port. They may stop in Cape Town and TEMA, and then go back to the Middle East. These are faster and bigger vessels that can take a lot of stuff at a very cheaper rate because they might take a lot of volumes. Once the volumes are high, the prices will definitely come down. So exporting to the Middle East is definitely going to be cheaper with our new Terminal 3. And with the kind of facility we have in there, we need to encourage a lot of exports. And a lot of bigger vessels are also keen on berthing at our port. And the idea is to even bring goods meant for Europe to TEMA, and other vessels may come to TEMA and take them and then go up. Then they return, transshipment, and then they return to Cape Town and then connect to
also the fact that the tariffs are quite relatively compared to the other neighboring ports, highly better. But Mr. Zipa, the Takoradi port, for instance, is doing well with export. Now, relatively, if you compare that to TEMA, Takoradi does about 4 million export, and then import rather is about 2 million. If you take TEMA, the import rather is about 11, while the export is about 1. But all these expansion, all these projects, all these reduction in tariffs and all of that are meant to attract your people to export a lot more. What else can be done?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. That if we put all that infrastructure in place and are unable to produce from here to use the facility, we're just creating money for some other people. So we all need to export, export, export. And I'm not just focusing on GEPA. I'm focusing on we as a nation. We've talked so much this whole year about all kinds of projects, but we say very little about exporting. 30 million people is not a market that anybody can grow his business on sufficiently and sustainably. Right? When we have this whole continent at our disposal, we have certain competitive advantages that today we are losing. Until the last 5 years, we were about the only country in the West Africa sub-region that was able to produce certified products, certified pineapples, certified mangoes, because we are taking the trouble to learn it, thanks to projects like TIFC, GIZ, and all these people. Okay, but now we have not expanded. We didn't have the resource to expand, so now all the other countries are catching up with us. I read a report on Nigerians coming here to learn about yam.
I think.
For me, I laugh. Each time the Nigerians come and they say, Nigerians, they produce so much yam and they consume everything. So there's the very little left
to export.
Very little left to export. You know, and then besides,
they don't. That's what we can take advantage of.
Exactly. They don't like they want big tubers. They don't like medium-sized tubers that are demanded on the export market. So this is it. And now there's technology to produce yam seed from vines.
I see.
We need to get closer to the research station and use it so that you can produce more seed and change the quality of the yam on the market. The quality of the yam on the market is suffering because we have overused the planting material. And so it's like an old man having kids in his old age.
Pension babies.
That's right.
Okay, so I think we've denied our viewers. I see quite a number of messages. I'll try to read them, but on the screens, I'm sure you would notice that we have some numbers displayed on there. 055-901-9177 is the number. You can WhatsApp us on 055-901-9177. And the number that you can call is 020-552-8353 if you have questions around whatever we are discussing, the conversation we're having around export and how we can grow export. 020-552-8353 is the number you call. And do not call the WhatsApp line, 055-901-9177. There's a number calling on the WhatsApp line from Pakistan. Please, WhatsApp, or you call the line that you can call us on. However, a few questions coming on the line so far. What is... hello, my name is Prince and I am a producer and exporter of shea butter and African black soap. The challenges exporters face are many, but the two that for me is counterproductive are cheaper capital and low freight charges in shipping our exports globally. What is GEPA and the other government departments doing about that to address these two challenges? GEPA.
Thank you. Specifically, we will be looking at probably the whole industry, and for that matter, the whole value chain. And then we see how best we can, for instance, even with the shea butter that he mentioned, the quality problem counts. Is it for the cosmetic industry or is it for in the food industry? And so you need to identify the type that you are producing. Which market are you targeting? The cosmetic or the food industry? And then the necessary support that you want. I'm sure when you come to our office.
Okay, so you can come to GEPA office. Ibrahim is calling from Damango. Hello, Ibrahim. Hello, Ibrahim.
Hello?
Yes, hello, Ibrahim.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, Ibrahim.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, I want to find out from the business view of people how far they've gone.
Hello, Ibrahim. Okay, I think we lost him. Now, what is happening to salt exports? What is happening to salt exports, which Ghana has huge potential? Just inquiring which country Ghana imports its salt requirements from for the oil industry. Do we know about this? FAGE.
It's likely to be Brazil.
Where?
Do you?
No. Nigeria imports from Brazil.
Yes, mostly people from Brazil.
We import them from Brazil, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nicholas, a freight forwarder, clearing agent or clearing agent. What's the contact of Export Promotion Authority? What's your contact?
Export Promotion is just, we have a website. And www.gepagana.org. And so this is our website. However, it depends on where he is. If it's within Accra, and we are also found in the regions. We have an office in Kumasi.
So they can visit your
website. So they can visit our nearest office.
Offices, okay. Mr. Jekuno from, is it Labadi? Hello, good evening.
No.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you, please.
Yeah, okay. Please, mine is more of a contribution.
Please go ahead.
I want to ask, what is being done to improve on the quality of the goods that are being sent out? For example, if you look at our exit point,
yes,
do we have quality controllers? Do we have quality controllers at the exit point that check the goods that are moving out? at the port? Do you have government quality controllers from the Ministry of Agriculture that do check on pineapples, that do check on banana, that do check on coconut or yam?
Okay.
To see whether the criteria have been met.
The standard has been met. Good.
Or we normally leave the quality aspect to only the exporters.
Okay.
I feel that for we to be serious, we need to put in place a ministry or a system that will double cross-check what the farmers are also bringing, so that we can actually say that what is being sent out by the exporters and what are the standards that have been made. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. FAGE, you know, you've been exporting, so you know. You can tell him much more than I will do.
When an exporter, for example, for pineapple wants to export, the buyer indicates what quality standard he must produce, he must bring. And an independent body has to certify that indeed the products that you are bringing certify those standards. That's what we call about certification, right? So if, for example, pineapple, the first thing you have to do is you have to take a sample to Ghana Standard Authority to be tested, whether the chemical residue levels in it is within the limits.
Okay.
What we call the maximum residue level, MRLs, is within the limits.
I'm going to push you to, so that we pick this caller from Tamale before. Mr. Bawa, calling from Tamale, hello.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Good evening, Bawa.
Yeah, the program is very educative. But with our export issue, probably definitely work. Hello?
Please go ahead, Bawa, we can hear you.
Yeah, whatever at all we can do about our export, we have to change our attitude as Ghanaians.
Sure.
Definitely, we have to appreciate whatever we are producing, and then get to convince others that we ourselves are ready to use it as it were.
Yeah.
And then get them to understand the importance of whatever we are producing.
Exactly.
And that will go a long way to market it even outside the country.
Okay.
So before Ghana can even export a particular commodity to international market, people will even get to know what the product is all about.
Yeah.
And for all those things, we get to add more value to the product. And at the end of the day, we ourselves will appreciate whatever we are producing, and the international community as well will buy into whatever we are doing.
Agreed.
But as if we always produce and we decide that whatever we are producing, we don't even value it. We don't even see it to be anything. How then do we convince our brothers elsewhere to come in or to demand for those particular products?
Okay.
So I hope and pray that the authorities will take a note by encouraging made in Ghana goods, and then even add value to whatever we are producing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very well noted. This one says, hello, this is Fidelia from Damango, Savannah region. I'm saying good evening to the entire panel, particularly Albert Diura. Thank you. This one says okay. Hi, Sami. My name is Kwame. Mr. Albert should come again with his virtue. Okay, with his virtual school. I think that's the one he's talking about. This is more like a workshop or customer service oriented sort of, and not a school. The GEPA CEO is talking like this one is a school, a standard school that is there, but that is not a school. It's a workshop. Is it?
I will totally disagree.
Okay.
It is a school because it's normally packaged, courses. What exactly, we call it export fundamentals. And like I rightly said, because it is normally probably done once in a year, maybe he can call it a workshop. And so we are trying to have, if you like, a calendar so that throughout the year from January to December, and that is where we are even looking at having real structures.
Okay,
and then
in place to do it. Now,
it.
Atabia is also calling from somewhere up north, is it? Damang. Okay, good. Hello, Atabia.
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Okay, so we're going to have to move on. Hello, my name is Prince, and I am a producer and exporter of shea butter and African black soap. The challenges, okay, I think I've read this one already. You sent it again. It is interesting to hear that we should all nest one tree. I planted about 4 acres of trees, and somebody just went with sand winners and destroyed it in the presence of the Ghana police men at Gomua, Dominase. Couldn't even invite them when I reported to them, when reported to the police. How will I be happy to plant just a single tree? Mr. Donikwame, this was your suggestion. Have one tree. The person planted a whole acre, and then somebody just went to destroy it. George is calling from TEMA. Hello, George.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
My concern is about getting certification from our regulated bodies. We farm pineapple and also farm organic products.
Mm-hmm.
If you send your product there for certification, what your panelist said, take a pineapple there before you export. By the time they are done with the certification, the pineapple is rotten.
I see.
Because it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I'm concerned about our society is that you take your time and then you farm an organic product because you really want to get a product that you yourself can consume, and then the general public can buy. And when you take it to the market, nobody appreciates it.
I see.
It's quite a shame. Nobody appreciates it.
I see.
You want to get it out of town, you meet so much frustration. I've sent you WhatsApp messages and some chests of our organic farm.
Okay.
You want to certify, nobody is willing to help. They will take you through a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
It's quite frustrating farming in Ghana.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we are professionals in our field. That we decided that let's farm something small for ourselves. And then it becomes bigger, and we export to people anyway.
Okay.
But the point is, it calls to organic. And once you get it, nobody is willing to pay the price for it.
I see.
Thank you.
GEPA, how do you encourage people to pay for value, pay for organic? And also the issue of the fact that by the time you even get certification, and that I have heard it quite a number of times, by the time you get certification, maybe your product may be even expiring, FAGE.
You know, it is very true. Last week I was in a workshop where we're looking to engaging the authorities to decentralize the facility, the labs. Okay, currently it's only Standard Authority that is accredited to do those tests. But if Standard Authority can take on maybe some of the institutions, especially in the middle, we notice that we don't have testing labs in the middle belt and in the north. So if we can get,
they can spread it.
You can spread it, and then also license them like help.
Decentralize the licenses.
Decentralize it so that it can be there. So that's one of the ways that
we have a caller from TEMA, right? From a Shyman, Evans, right? Hello, Evans.
Yeah, hello.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. My contribution is our leaders, when they come to the TV set, they will say sweet things, but when you go there, that is not what is happening there.
Okay, so what is happening on the ground? Tell us.
For a very long time.
Okay.
They will say nice things, but when you go to the floor, that is not what is happening.
So tell us what is happening on the floor so that they can take it up.
You see, yeah, with respect, a colleague friend earlier on said, like, when you want to do export, you go through a whole lot. By then, your items that you want to export
will expire.
Get rotten or something.
Okay. Okay.
You see, and also like those planting of tree and other stuff, no. when you have a problem and you report it to the police,
Mm-hmm.
they will even ask you to go and bring the person who destroyed your product. Instead of them following you to arrest the person, they'll ask you to go and bring that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what is happening in Ghana.
Okay.
So, like what they say, they should walk their
The
talk.
talk.
They should be pragmatic. They should walk their talk.
Okay, thanks a lot. So this one says, good evening. Please, I want to inquire from GEPA. As a cashew farmer, how do I have market for my product and in what basis is it bought? Is it bought in bags and how much is bought? This is Lawrence from Taifa in Accra. GEPA, can you respond to that?
The cashew has a body. We call them SIAG, the Cashew Industry Association of Ghana. And so these are areas that they can get the information from. Like I said, we also have our market hub, all the products and the prices and the final destination, the markets are all displayed on our market hub. So I will encourage him to visit our website and then get more information, and also the Cashew Association.
Okay.
He can get more information.
Let me pick Ibrahim from Tamale, I think. Ibrahim. Hello, Ibrahim.
Well, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, please, I want to find out from the Deputy CEO.
Yes.
How far have they gone with the initiative of one exportable product?
One district, one
exportable product.
Did you hear him? Okay, please go ahead.
The one district, one exportable product is an initiative that GEPA we are advocating for seriously, because we have all the districts in Ghana. Maybe there's one unique product or produce that can come from that place. And so we are encouraging that you identify your unique potentials district by district base. It doesn't mean that 2 or 3 districts cannot be producing the same thing. Yeah. For instance, cashew cannot be produced in all the 16 regions of Ghana. And so we will, the one district, one exportable product has to do with your potentials, your uniqueness as a district, that we encourage every district to identify their strength area as far as these non-traditional exports are concerned, and then you will zoom into it and produce it in large quantities.
Okay.
If not for anything at all, this is going to lead into one district, one factory, that if you can produce it there and you need to be processed, then the factory will be sited at that place. So we are just encouraging district level to identify their potentials in the non-traditional export and produce it in large quantity.
Okay, before Mr. You want to top up?
Another good solution. Currently, we have 3 development authorities: the Coastal Development Authority, then the Forest, then the Savannah. And you realize that the climate in these areas are more or less similar, and you get a lot of fruits in the coastal areas. And then the forest areas, you have palm, and then you go to the savannah area, is share. And I remember I attended a workshop organized by JICA, and they believe if we produce a lot of share, and oil from the share is brought down to the south, then those in the forest area can also move the palm to the north. You can create a whole lot of industries. We can just start with the 3 authorities to look at promoting citrus fruits, pineapples in the coastal area, promote palm in the forest, and then invest more in share and share butter in the north.
Okay. This text says, hi, we have, by God's grace, been successful in doing organic farming for our own consumption. Now we have capacity to export, as we have a lot of produce which the local market needs or keen to buy. The local market is keen to buy. Please, can you help to export? So I'm sure you may have to go to GEPA if you want some assistance on this one. This one says, please, I want to enter into ginger export. What's the way forward? This is Kwesi Abwaje from Chebi Esikem. Ginger production. export?
It begins with research, and we can help them to identify the potential markets for ginger. And so it begins with what exactly you produce, like in general. And so you yourself have to have to carry out some research on your own. Then you have the necessary questions, and then you identify GEPA, where we are actually mandated for export. And so when you come to us, we will educate you, give you various markets in West Africa, ECOWAS, and even outside of ECOWAS. Then we can help you. If you don't want to go into our website, like we have the market hub, where products are actually profiled, and the destination markets. You can visit us in our offices.
This one says, I did my service at Fan Milk Ghana in Takrady, and the sales officers were so interested in the local rice, and to my surprise, the local rice is even better than the so-called perfume rice. But the government, in my view, is now helping to spread and market our local rice. This is coming from Kelly in Takrady. We're not GEPA.
Tell him it's a business opportunity for himself.
Kelly. How long does it take to clear your items, Anthony? That one will depend on the items you are clearing and what. So get a bit of specifics for us. And then this one says, please, good evening. How can I export Alata Semina to USA and UK? This is coming from Alhaji Awudu from Ejoso in Kumasi somewhere.
Alata Semina is the same thing like the first was talking about the black soap. It is the same thing. And basically, it's one of the easiest. It's one of the easiest to be exported. And so
I see. So he can come to your office.
He can come to our offices.
Okay.
It's one of the
Good evening. I humbly suggest that this program should be shown at least twice a week so that we don't miss anything. And this has been too educative for us. Okay. This one says, Yusuf from Bole, we value our product first before exporting, he's suggesting. Do we value our product before exporting?
Before you send a product, you must know at least how much you're going to get for it when you export it. But there are all kinds of transactions that we get into based on who you are dealing with. Sometimes you sell the thing out on consignment basis. Other times you're even paid before you go out of here.
Okay.
So it depends on the commodity and what arrangement you have with your buyer. But you see, generally, if you want to export, first know where you want to take it. Because the market determines what quality, what standards that they require. What are the regulations to taking things there. For example, USA will not allow you to bring any fresh produce into their system. Right? So, no, you can't take it. If you have to take it, there is a process you have to go through to make sure that there are no organisms on the product before it gets there, because they don't want you bringing any foreign pests into their environment. So please, anybody who wants to export, my first thing is that find out for yourself where there is a demand for that product before you start even planting or processing it. You don't finish processing it first
before you start
looking for market. That's old school.
Be modern. Ohima from TEMA says, good evening to you and your panelists. Let's learn to produce quality, consume quality, and exporting quality.
Exactly.
That will be easy. Thank you. She's right.
Absolutely. I always say that we can compete with any country if we produce quality, plus volumes and regularity of supply. We will compete with anybody.
I will push export financing. I think we will need a whole time. An Exim Bank and Co would have to come in at some point, but I will push it to another time. But after the African Continental Free Trade is what I'm going to let all of us bite on before we conclude. But let's listen to Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa. The comment he made real quick, just about 30 seconds or so, and then we'll conclude on after.
To prevent illegal trading and selling of counterfeit and unsafe products. We are finding that in our townships and in the rural areas, there are many businesses that operate without permits, illegally, and everybody just arrives in our townships and rural areas and set up businesses without licenses and permits. We are going to bring this to an end. And those who are operating illegally, wherever they come from, must now know that we are going to enforce permits and make sure that people who operate businesses do indeed have trading licenses. We will also prevent displacement of local enterprises by big retail stores, and will ensure that small producers have a place in their retail value chains.
Okay, so that's Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa. And gentlemen, you listen to the comment there. We have African Continental Free Trade Area agreement signed. And we're all hoping that we'll be able to export to South African market. We're hoping that South African market will be able to export into the Ghanaian market and all of that. What are the likelihood that with the comments made as far as ensuring that people don't go and occupy certain spaces that they don't have to occupy can have impact on export? Maybe Mr. Donikwame.
As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to export, the ideal steps will be the stages model. You develop a product for your own local market, you build the expertise, and then you look for a customer elsewhere. So you really don't move yourself or your investment to that country.
Yeah. You don't migrate your person.
So the demand has to come from elsewhere, but they have standards.
Yeah.
So once you have a customer, maybe you attend a trade fair in Cape Town or in Johannesburg with a sample of your product, and they do like it. Then the next step is that, we need a lot of your stuff. So the first step is to know what the standards in South Africa are. With the coming of the AFCFTA, definitely we may harmonize most of our laws. You know, there will be customs union, as phyto and sanitary laws will be the same. So maybe the same product that you've produced for our local market might be okay for another market in South Africa, since we're living in the same community. But it will take some time before we get there. So you look at the standards of South Africa, and then you study it, and then you produce to meet those standards. You know, so you discuss the price with your client. We currently have different currencies, which is also another issue. Payment is another big issue within the continent. That's why most people prefer to export to Europe.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to address all these challenges. Yeah.
So with Cyril's comment, and are we saying that there's a lot that needs to be done if we can really take advantage of this? Or are people assuming wrongly that once there is after, I can just move and go? But Cyril is telling us that, some people need to operate within a certain regulatory frame.
Sure, definitely. You can't just, whether there's after or no after, you can't just open your door for anybody to
just
walk in and do anything. So laws will still be enforced. And he's saying that they are going to enforce their laws.
Yeah.
But even before that start, already, the African Union has come up with a standard for fresh produce. So there are standards for various fresh produce, and people have been trained in how to train farmers in producing to comply to those standards. These are the kind of things that we need to take to our farmers and start teaching them.
Yeah.
And like he said, look, when there is a beautiful car out there and people have their money, it's not the manufacturers who bring the car here. Those who are here who want it, they go for it. So similarly, if we are producing goods of quality, people will come for it. Our cocoa is quality, so people come for it.
So we should make all the other products like
exactly.
that. Okay.
The model is there. Let's follow it.
Okay. We're going to wrap up now, but a quick glance through some of your comments, and I'll do this very quickly. I am very interested in the exports school. How do I get involved or benefit from the next schedule? Yao Boating from Kokomlimli sent that one. Good evening, sir. Please let Mr. Emmanuel Donikwame throw a little more light on how he envisages shipment at lower cost to the exporters in the foreseeable future. Can you do that quickly? Just 10 seconds.
As I mentioned earlier, we have a new Terminal 3, which can bet very big vessels. So once it can take the volumes, it's more or less a case of economies of scale. Yeah. Once you're taking in more, then the cost will be shared amongst. So you're bringing in bigger vessels, faster vessels, especially those who think they export in perishable goods, so they would prefer sending their produce by air. But now we'll be getting bigger and faster vessels, and then more goods can be taken in.
From WA says, good evening to you and your crew. In fact, the initiative by GEPA is a good idea. It will help reduce unemployment in the country. And then the final one says, good evening. Can we get their number and where can we locate them? That's GEPA, Alhaji Awudu from Bolgatanga. Your number and where they can locate you real quick.
Good. The good question is that Bolgatanga will have a zonal office in Bolgatanga, but our number is 0320740909. So this is an official number that you can get us on.
0302 740-909. I'm sure that they can type it on the screens whilst we end the program. In the meantime, some few news items are circulating in the maritime space around the world. Take a listen. Plus, the Bank of Ghana exchange rates that you need to clear your goods out of the port, as well as all the schedules of the vessels that are in the port right now, those that are at anchorage, those also expected to come in this week. Next on your screens.
According to ship operator STENA Bulk, Iranian government has decided to release 7 of the 23 crew members held on the detained tanker STENA IMPERO. The company said that its request to remove non-essential personnel from the vessel is now being acted upon, and that arrangements are underway for the release of the 7 seafarers that include 5 Indians, a Latvian, and a Russian national. Media reports cited an Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman, Abbas Mousavi, as saying that the seafarers have already left the British-flagged tanker. Mousavi reportedly said that the crew members left the vessel and the final procedures are underway to send them back to their countries. 16 crew members will remain on board according to the vessel's minimum safe manning certificate. After it was detained, STENA IMPERO was brought to the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas, where it remained at anchor. The Swedish-owned vessel was seized in the Strait of Hormuz in July, only weeks after the Royal Marines and Gibraltar authorities detained the Iranian tanker Adrian Daya 1, previously named Grace 1, of Gibraltar due to suspicions of violating European Union sanctions on Syria. Japanese shipping company MOL and Turkey's floating power plant company KARPOWER International have agreed to jointly carry out the first LNG-to-POWERSHIP project in Mozambique under the co-brand KARMO. For this purpose, the duo will jointly own and operate a floating storage regasification unit and a POWERSHIP floating power plant. At the end of August, Mo and KARPOWERSHIP made a presentation at Tokyo International Conference on African Development, where they introduced the concept of LNG-to-POWERSHIP solution and outlines of the Mozambique project. According to MOL, KARMO's LNG-to-POWERSHIP solution, with power generation capacity of 120 megawatts, is expected to create a stable and reliable supply of electricity for the people of Mozambique and provide critical infrastructure for the use of LNG within Mozambican territory. When completed, the project will be the first LNG-to-power solution and FSRU project in Eastern and Southern Africa.
So I think that if we are even given the next 2 hours, we'll never exhaust the conversation. And I'm hoping that there will be a bigger platform for us to continue export. It appears that you need a lot of engagement from the conversation that's going on. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, for instance, I recall last year called almost all the players within the export industry, began bringing together to start some drive, sort of, so that we can grow this. I hope that it continues, along that line, and then definitely we will continue the conversation going forward. Because, Mr. Sipa, maybe you take that one as your last submission. 30 seconds. If you want to wrap up, what's the way forward when?
Well, the way forward is that GEPA should not just, they're doing well, they should stay focused and take a few crops so that we get winners. Once we get winners, many more people will come on board and we get more support. I mean, they should also engage the private sector players themselves, because they have already invested in there. And just a little bit of motivation, they can produce more that we add the new ones to.
Okay. And then, Mr. Adonikwame, your last one.
I will still talk about climate change. Climate change is everyone's business, and it affects every sector of the economy, both agri and even the export sector. So we need to take it serious, and then we need to plant more trees. We need to invest more in bulk transportation, be it rail, be it bigger vessels to move our exports. And I think that's the right way to go, yeah.
Okay. And then, GEPA, maybe you would also have to mention your school, how people can get it, because a lot of messages are still flying in on that.
Yeah, our school is actually the way to go, because that is where it all starts.
And they can come to
export
GEPA for
fundamentals. Yeah, they can come to our offices. And I'm happy now you've displayed our contact on the screen. Okay. They can also call us and visit us. However, very soon, before the end of the year, we will roll out a whole calendar for the school, how we are going to run it, the courses we are going to bring about, the innovative courses that are out there that will be comparable to anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And so they should visit us and know more about it. But in my last summary, like you rightly said, for us at GEPA, the way to go is collaboration, collaboration, and collaboration. Because we work with a lot of agencies, and for us, like I rightly said from the beginning, the national export strategy document that we develop, I mean, if you take that document, I call it a roadmap, where every player will have their their way to go. Okay. And so by the time we all come on board with perfect collaboration to implement this document, I'm sure
we will achieve something.
We will achieve a lot.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Ports and Harbours Authority says they should let you know, FAGE and the exporters and all of that. And you are the president of the exporters. Tariff is down for export, those who export more. Export more. And then their continued engagement with the players within the industry as well will continue. The gentleman we had in the studio for the discussions today, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, the Deputy CEO of GEPA, that's the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Mr. Albert Kasim Diwura, and Mr. Anthony Sipa is the president of the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters, FAGE, and Mr. Emmanuel Donikwame is the Secretary General for the International Chamber of Commerce. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for watching. See you next week.
Good.